Jaya Girivaradhari, Jaya Girivaradhari. Jaya Rdha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari. Jashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana, Jashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana, Jashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana, Jashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana, Jamunatira Vanachari, Jamunatira Vanachari, Jaya Rdha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari. Jaya Vishnupada Paramahansa Paribhrajacharya Tadasata Shishima. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki, ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki, Prem Sai Gaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Go Gopinath Shyamakunda Radha Kundi Giri Govardhana Ki, Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki, Shri Mayapur Dham Ki, Ganga Maya Ki, Jamuna Maya Ki, Bhakti Devi Ki, Tulasi Devi Ki, Samaveta Bhaktinda Ki, Jainatai Gaur Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Yate me Vikrita Bhavas Tata Te Vikritai Saha Nana Virya Pritag Bhuta Virajam Janayantihi Yate me Vikrita Bhavas Tata te Vikritai Saha Nana Virya Pritag Bhuta Virajam Janayantihi Yate me vikrita bhavas tata te vikritai saha nana viryah pritag bhuta virajam janayantihi. Yata, as ime, these material creations made of material energy. Vikrita, actually not disintegrated. Bhava, with such a conception. Tata, similarly. Te, they. Vikritai, saha, association with these different elements coming from the total material energy. Nana viryaha, every element is full of different energies. Pritak, separated. Bhuta, becoming. Virajam, the whole cosmic manifestation. Janayanti, create. He, indeed. Sannipatya, because of association with the spiritual energy. Samutpadya, after being created. Drishyante, they appear. Anugataha, entered within it. Iva, as if. Pritak, from the very beginning. Before the creation of this cosmic manifestation. Eva, indeed. Vidyamanatvat, due to the existence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Na, not. Tesham, of these material elements. Iha, in this matter of creation. Sambhava, entering would have been possible. Evam, in this way. Bhavan, O my Lord. Buddhi anumeya laksha, naihi, by real intelligence and by such symptoms. Grahyai, with the objects of the senses. Gunai, with the modes of material nature. San api, although in touch. Tatguna agraha, are not touched by the material qualities. Anavritavat, because of being situated everywhere. Bahi antaram, within the external and internal. Nate, there is no such thing for you. Sarvasya, of everything. Sarvatma, you are the root of everything. Atmavastunaha, everything belongs to you. But you are outside and inside of everything. Translation. The Mahatattva, the total material energy, is undivided, but because of the material modes of nature, it appears to separate into earth, water, fire, air, and ether. Because of the living energy, Jiva Bhuta, these separated energies combine to make the cosmic manifestation visible. But in fact, before the creation of the cosmos, the total energy is already present. Therefore, the total material energy never actually enters the creation. Similarly, although you are perceived by our senses because of your presence, you cannot be perceived by the senses, nor experienced by the mind or words. Avan manasa gocharan. With our senses, we can perceive some things, but not everything. For example, we can use our eyes to see, but not to taste. Consequently, you are beyond perception by the senses. Although in touch with the modes of material nature, you are unaffected by them. You are the prime factor in everything, the all-pervading, undivided supersoul. For you, therefore, there is no external or internal. You never entered the womb of Devaki, rather you existed there already. Purport. The same understanding is explained by the Lord himself in Bhagavad Gita 9.4. Maya tatam idam sarvam jagat avyaktina murtina. Matstani sarvabhutani na chaham teshvavastitaha. By me, in my unmanifested form, this entire universe is pervaded. All beings are in me, but I am not in them. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is not perceivable through the gross material senses. It is said that Lord Krishna's name, fame, pastimes, etc. cannot be understood by material senses. Only to one who is engaged in pure devotional service under proper guidance is he revealed, as stated in Brahma Samhita 5.38. Premanjana chudita bhakti vilochanena santa sadaiva hridayeshu vilokayanti. One can see the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Govinda, always within oneself and outside oneself, if one has developed the transcendental loving attitude towards him. Thus, for people in general, he is not visible. In the above-mentioned verse from Bhagavad Gita, therefore, it is said that although he is all-pervading, everywhere present, he is not conceivable by the material senses. But actually, although we cannot see him, everything is resting in him. As discussed in the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the entire material cosmic manifestation is only a combination of his two different energies, the superior spiritual energy and the inferior material energy. Just as the sunshine is spread all over the universe, the energy of the Lord is spread all over the creation, and everything is resting in that energy. So here then, the points being made is how everything is Krishna, and at the same time he is beyond this. So he is pervading everything through his internal potency. He is actually, everything is made up of him, his energy. But even though he is everything, and we have senses and we can perceive so many things, technically we can't perceive him because he is beyond this. That's the uniqueness of Krishna, is that he himself can only be appreciated or understood through devotion. You can't understand him outside of that. Because he being beyond the senses are unable to perceive unless he allows them to be. Because the point is the senses are him anyway. So if he wants to allow them to be able to perceive him, that's not a problem. So, therefore, only those who have a devotional attitude towards Krishna can actually see Krishna. Those who don't have this devotional attitude, they cannot see Krishna. So it's not that, no, it's by my effort I can get anything done I want. No, you can get something done within the context of what you can do, right? Does that make sense? Like, so much of the popular advertising these days is, doing whatever you want, be whatever you want to be. But it doesn't actually work out. We see Francis of Assisi wanted to be free like a bird and fly, so he went up on the roof. But do we ever hear that he actually did? No. So the point is you can only be free within the context of your freedom. You can't go beyond that. Does that make sense? So the living entity then is able to take part in relationship with the Lord by the Lord's grace, but it's only through devotion. It's not because I have senses, therefore I can perceive everything, because as it is, we don't perceive everything. We only perceive those things that are within the context of our own interest. We don't see other things. Does that make sense? Let's say we have a room, and on one side of the room is a very beautiful girl, on the other side of the room are all kinds of nice things to eat, okay? We bring a 5-year-old into the room, and we bring a teenager into the room. Who's going to see what? You understand? You only perceive what's important to you. You will not perceive outside of that. So if material energy and enjoyment of that energy is all you're interested in, you will not see Krishna. Because the point is, it already is Krishna, and we're seeing it separate from Krishna. So then, why would Krishna reveal himself? But if we see everything in connection with Krishna because of that devotion, then naturally Krishna will reveal himself. We can see him. The whole process is actually that simple, but of course one has to be purified, and by the grace of Krishna and Guru, then one can appreciate this. But the point is it's not the mechanical process of the senses working, that goes on no matter what, but then what you see with that, that's up to Krishna. What is the power of your mechanics? Does that make sense? Doesn't make sense. You're not actually here, that's a hologram. One more time, I see. Okay. It means the senses are mechanically acting, but the difficulty comes down is that we're only perceiving with the senses what's important to us. So even though they mechanically work in a particular way, we only see what we are interested to see. Does that make sense? So that's the whole thing. Let's say we look at a situation and someone trained in a particular discipline looks at the same situation. They'll see something completely different than us. Right? So it's a matter of what is of value to us. Right? Does that make sense? That's the whole idea. Let's say there's a crowd of people. Okay, so a teacher will see, here's an opportunity to teach. There are people here, I could teach something. To an administrator, they think, now here's something we can, deal with this crowd in such a way that, there's discipline and all these other aspects. Someone who has economic understanding would think, here's an opportunity for making money. Does that make sense? And the artist may think, here's an opportunity, here's people, then we can express ourselves, and then they can appreciate and share in this expression. Does that make sense? So everybody's going to see something different. That's the point. Okay? So that's coming from Krishna, because the senses, the potency of them are coming from Krishna. And so when Krishna then gives that whatever ability according to what interest the soul wants, because it's unlimited what's there, since Krishna is unlimited. So it's just a matter of the interest of the individual living entity than what is revealed to them. And of course, that they make the proper endeavor. Someone, let's say, wants to get a degree in school but doesn't make any effort, doesn't go to school, doesn't go to the classes, doesn't do the homework, doesn't take the test, then how will they get? Right? The opportunity is there, you take it, you apply yourself, that's where then it will be. So where the living entity applies themselves, that's where Krishna will reciprocate. Does that make sense? Yeah. Yes?
We have 9 types of loving relationships with Krishna, right?
9 types. Why 9? Why did you pick 9?
Not 9, more than 9.
No, I'm just saying, where does 9 come from?
Like being a friend, father, mother, conjugal lover.
Okay, so conjugal lover, mother, father, friend. That's 3. Then we have 6 more. Friend is already you mentioned. You said friend and friend. Okay, so then, you have the Indian close interaction and the Australian, okay, but still it counts as 1. And you have servitorship, and then shantarasa, or neutrality. Those are the 5. There are 7 secondary rasas that may be tasted within those, and different ones taste different aspects. Does that make sense? So the whole thing of relationship rasa then is a very large science in itself. Okay, so then what do you want to do with these?
So in this relationship, you meant to say that whatever we feel like having, that we can have it unlimitedly, right?
Yes, but what do you mean by having it? It's like you go to the house and they put some how you say, some chaat on the table and say, have it.
Experiencing the relationship.
But what's the basis? Even if we're saying that's there, you can have, but what's the whole point of having? What would be the benefit? Yes, so it's based on that affection for Krishna, is that you see the situations on how to apply them and use them in Krishna's service. And so that increases that natural affection between Krishna and the devotee. So it's not just a matter of having something, it's what you do with it. Right? Does that make sense? Like Mother Yashoda has that particular rati or attraction to Krishna in the parental relationship. Right? But it's not that she just has it, she does something with it. And that doing something means to express her affection for Krishna. Right? That's the whole point of bhakti, is that you have an attraction and you express it. Right? So even in the material world, the same principle is going on, though it's material. Because in the spiritual world, they see the situations that are there, created by Yoga Maya, and then they see those situations in the context of their relationship with Krishna, and how then they can engage themselves to express their love for Krishna through using that situation to please Krishna. Does that make sense? Like that. So, but the point is Krishna is the center, but mechanically they're dealing on the how they'll go about engaging it is the same. That is the process, right? In the material world, people are also dealing with Krishna's energy, which is non-different from him, and they're seeing opportunities in which to engage the senses. So it's still connected with Krishna, but because they don't know it, and they think that I'm going to be the beneficiary of this endeavor, therefore it takes on the mundane quality. So they're an illusion. They can't see Krishna, even though everything is Krishna. You know what I'm saying? So in the spiritual world, that aspect of how everything is Krishna, it only reminds them of the person. Well, here we see everything is all Krishna, but it only reminds us of how we can control and enjoy it. So the mechanics will be the same, but you're just dealing with inferior things. Does that make sense? Yeah. Yes.
So where do the
Because they technically, when we deal with the God aspect, since it's not specifically about prema, it's the aspect of he's the creator, maintainer, destroyer, witness, judge, that kind of aspect. Then they're actually dealing with the Paramatma aspect of the Lord. Because they don't go beyond it to God's a person and he has interaction, though that there is an indication of that. We see in the Bible that Adam and Eve are walking with God, but you never hear anybody discuss that point ever again.
With some of the mystics of Christian tradition, like St. John of the Cross and Teresa of Avila and that sort of thing, they do have poetry where they have this very intimate relationship.
But how well did that work out for them with the Pope?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't taken up as mainstream,
but at least did they end up being burnt at the stake? Or yeah, so therefore that's the point, is that in general the practitioners are unwilling to take it past that because it's based on fear, not on love. They talk about love, and it's not a problem to talk about love. But generally the reason that they do things is not out of love for God, but out of fear of God. So they talk about having that loving relationship, but the only reason that they are in that loving relationship is out of fear. So in other words, it's a positive step forward, but they could go farther because they're only really appreciating the Paramatma aspect. So the Brahman aspect and the Bhagavan aspect, they don't actually have a clue about.
Okay, so then the practitioners who maybe you could call it mystics, like the Sufis and St. John of the Cross, they're not mainstream, they get persecuted by the mainstream of their church or whatever.
Yes.
Because the mainstream
doesn't recognize that. Because we see is that the whole point of, at least in generally speaking, is people are interested in the karma aspect of religion. Because religion means you perform a activity in connection with a particular item or situation or that's approved. And then from that approved action, then that generates a good result. That's called piety. So most people are interested in the piety for the material benefit that they will get, rather than the piety simply as it's an authorized activity. But so anybody who recognizes the laws of God and follows the authorized activities, that's pious. But now you have three different results you can be wanting from that engagement of pious activity. One is you want the fruitives, so you want better material facility and enjoyment, hence the going to heaven and having a great time, right? Then the second is that one will follow these activities, but by doing that without attachment, one will get freed from material entanglement and come to the point of liberation. Right? So that's the second one. So yes, and the third one then means it's about pleasing God as a person, so it's done in devotion, and the end result is in devotion. We can say is that no, but they're all working in devotion, but up to what point? Because if the idea is that it's so even we'll say, okay, they're performing the pious activities that are recommended because of acknowledgement of God's superiority, so they're theistic, and they're performing it with devotion, right? Because without devotion, then how do you please God and actually get the results anyway, right? Now the difficulty comes is now what happens when the individual performs the religious activity and then gets the results of that, the physical results of that activity. Are they going to continue remembering God in that devotion, or are they going to then get absorbed in the happiness that's there? Because we see as a standard, it's not saying it's everybody uses it, but it's quite a standard concept used, that God is there at the gate of heaven in his big chair and all that. And, of course, an armchair, because he's got to sit there a long time. So, at least that much he's got that. It's not a very ergonomic chair, but, he's God, so I guess it doesn't matter. So he doesn't have health issues. So then on the judgment day, then everybody comes and he points left or right, and you either go around him into heaven or go off to hell. But the point is you go around him. And then once you go into heaven, they never mention God again. So it's just about enjoying the facility. That's karma. So yes, they're performing the proper activities, so that's good. Yes, they're dealing in devotion, that's good. But once they get the results of action, then it's no longer about God. So that's where the limitation of that is. Or then we get into those, as you said, the more mystic. Then of those, then many is they have the same thing, proper action with the devotion, but there's more of a sense of detachment. And so when they get that result of that devotion to God and that, then they come to the liberated platform. And then again, no talk about God, because those same persons who talk about devotion to God, that love for God, but he doesn't have a form and there is no, interaction. So then they get up to the Gyan path, or the liberated platform. So the point is that bhakti is used, but once the result of karma and jnana are gained, then the tendency is to drop the devotion. Does that make sense? Yeah, because their ultimate goal is not pure devotional service.
And you see that with the law of the Hindu practices, it's mainly for karma.
Yes, means basically speaking, most all individuals follow religion prominently for karma and a few for jnana. But for bhakti, in the case of ultimate bhakti, that even once you have attained the facility and the transcendental position, one continues in that devotion to God, and then on that transcendental position, that liberated platform, the results of your endeavor are for Krishna's satisfaction. Yeah. No, it's just, you kick off your shoes and get out your panpipes and, start dancing around. And, no, you don't. It's not about that. That's why this process of, basically you can say karma yoga, jnana yoga, or aropya bhakti, or mixed devotional service, is the same process we're following. Anybody else who's interested in the religious process is following. So that's why sometimes it becomes confusing, that, but they have so much devotion and this and that. And on one, yes, austerity, that commitment, so many have died for, for their beliefs and stuff like this. So the process is the same, because Krishna says in the Gita, there's only one path. There's not more than one path. There's only one path. So you're going forward because you're following God's laws. You're using the higher qualities. You're trying to improve upon that. So that will make you go forward. But it's how far forward you go. Therefore, it's defined by that goal. So if someone's using bhakti, which is in other words, if you're theistic and following God's laws, that's going to be the most efficient of any of these. If you make up your own process or just basically kind of grub around on whatever's available, it's not that efficient. When you accept the theistic, the laws, then that's going to be the dynamic one. Now within that, then to make that actually work nicely, you have to use bhakti. You actually do have to use. Because the results of endeavor is given by God himself. So therefore, unless you can do it just mechanically by the rules, that'll be much harder. Because if any rule is wrong, you're not going, it's like when you go down to the bureaucracy and you have this big, 10 pages of forms to fill out. If one thing is wrong, they give it back to you and you have to redo it. Like that. So if you're working without that devotion, that's what you're dealing with. If you're working with devotion, then it has a little bit more, it has that more personal element. That's why it feels better. But can you actually call it bhakti or devotion when, having gotten the results, you drop the endeavor in devotion? You understand? So that's why even though technically even the materialists, the karmis and jnanis, in their following of pious activities in a way to please the Lord, you can call it bhakti, but it's not actually, because they're only using bhakti, because bhakti has the potency. But once they get what they want, they drop it. So therefore we call them karmis or jnanis. So a devotee, even though they may have these mixed devotional elements, they want some material benefit. Even when they've got the material benefit, the ultimate goal to please Krishna is still there, even though they may get distracted by these material facilities or the principle of liberation. But it's still, once gaining it, they don't drop the idea of devotion. They may temporarily, in dealing, not remember Krishna. That's why you can use the same definition for both devotees and other religionists and that. But they still keep in mind that they want to develop love for Krishna. So that's why they're counted as devotees, not as just religious persons, religionists or liberationists. They're counted as devotees, because they will continue through as they get purified, and eventually the inclination towards karma and jnana will be dropped from their agenda or their intent, and it will all that will be left is that long-term aspect of simply trying to please Krishna. So that will bring them to the transcendental platform. That's why these others will be elevated, but up to a point and stop. That's the whole point, because it's ultimately impersonal. All religions of the world, if you ask it, technically they're all impersonal. They're personal and they're a mix. So they'll say he's a person, but then what does he look like? That they don't know, because they only know material form, and so therefore they can't accommodate spiritual form. Like that. So that's the thing. Just like, let's say, Arjuna seeing the greatness of the Lord in the universal form, that it was like terrible to behold. So it mentions that same position of Moses when he saw the Lord, but it says that he showed him. It means, at least in the Talmud, it'll mention that he showed him his lower back. He didn't even show. So still only saw the back. About that, but it still is terrible to behold, and so, therefore God just sticks to the fire, burning bush, and that makes it a lot easier, like that. So that devotion, it doesn't go through enough that personal aspect, so they don't actually get beyond the super soul position. And so then, the greatness of that is so great, but him as a person, then the intensity and magnitude of that is not a disturbance, because it's just on that personal platform. It doesn't. The more the intensity, the more the opportunity to interact. While if you're working on the God platform, the greater the God platform, the distance between you and God becomes greater. So how do you interact? So you always have to keep it at a balance. That's why he'll be the greatest, but at the same time, you can interact. At the same, so it's hard. It's kind of a little bit more like the Dwarka kind of thing. It's in between, but at the same time, it's without a full understanding of knowledge. So as soon as you say something that cannot be understood by them, it's beyond their intellectual capacity, that they have accepted as this is religious, then what you're saying must be the devil, because anything beyond their capacity, then it's the devil's work, because they're so perfect. It's always a difficulty. So it's if someone actually wants to know God, then you can show them beyond. But if people are just identify with the rituals and the benefit, the material benefit they'll get from those rituals, then wanting to know beyond that, it kind of blows the situation in which they'll still be the controller and enjoyer.
So then how rare is bhakti?
That's the whole point. It's very rare. You may find individuals where it's more, but due to a lack of association and having the Vedic knowledge, then it may not be as deep or consistent their higher understandings, though it may be higher than the generic understanding of their particular religious practice. You know, they'll have some glimpses of this, but it won't necessarily have, it won't be classified as pure devotion. It'll have that mixed element due to lack of that. Not that they couldn't, if they had the proper association, they couldn't continue through, but at least in the information we have from that life, then it doesn't go past. Now, next life, then if they come in contact because of that interest and sincerity, then there may be a continuation of their path in bhakti. Does that make sense? So just because the form is similar doesn't mean it is counted as bhakti. Like the caste Goswamis, they follow all the rules and regulations that we follow, and they may even worship the deity and call themselves Vaishnavas, but they don't believe the form of the Lord is eternal. So they're not actually counted as devotees. But if they're but because of their practices, Vaishnava practices and worship of the Lord and those things, then there is the opportunity that they may be interested in hearing the kirtan and the discussions and that from those who are actually Sampradayic Vaishnavas. You understand? Because it's the same culture. And so in that way, then you get a similar thing. Let's say the yoga practitioners who have kirtan, they have Hare Krishna kirtan, but they haven't heard the Mahamantra from the Sampradaya. So it's just a pious activity. It's the best of pious activities. You can't get better in this age. So all their material facilities, that's why they like it. It's so not because it's actually pious activity, but they won't get the spiritual benefit. Now, if they're actually sincere about knowing about the spiritual nature, then they'll come in contact with the devotees. So they'll invite the devotees to the yoga studio, or because they go to yoga kirtans, they hear that, okay, this yoga studio is having a kirtan, and they go, and it happens to be devotees doing the kirtan. Then they'll come in contact. Now it'll have a spiritual effect. So just because they're doing kirtan as the Mahamantra doesn't mean that it's actually transcendental, but because they are agreeable with that pious activity. Therefore, it makes a favorable environment for the Vaishnavas, because then now it gives that opportunity for preaching, because yoga studios are into Hare Krishna kirtan. Because if it wasn't for them being into Hare Krishna kirtan, many of our yoga preachers wouldn't chant Hare Krishna. They'd still be doing Ganesh kirtan and other kinds of, strange and wonderful things. But because the karmis accept it, now we can confidently do it. It's just like...
But it's got a potency that's not in the yoga studio. When a devotee's doing it.
Yes, because it's spiritual. While the yoga studio is doing it, it's just piety. Just like yoga. They're doing the yoga, but it's just piety. That's all. It's not spiritual. Right? Because you stand and you tie yourself up like a pretzel. That's not spiritual. It's the Ashtanga yoga system becomes spiritual when you meditate upon Vishnu. And so unless they're meditating on Vishnu, then they just get the whatever pious benefits comes from pretzeldom. That's all.
So the other three sampradayas then, for the Vaishnavas, how do they feel? Because they know about Krishna,
well, they're worshipping Vishnu. They have that devotion. They're interested in pure devotion, so their goal is pure devotion. But they're interested in worshipping God in different capacities. Of generally the Madhvas and Shris, then that will be in with the aspect of majesty. So they're interested to go to Vaikuntha. That's specifically their destination. Like that. So the Madhvas, they want Sarupya, that same form as the Lord. I think the Shris, I'm not sure. Like that, but that's there. So those two go there. Then the Nimbarkas, they worship Radha and Krishna, but as one and different, not a simultaneous one and difference. So that will place them in Vrindavan, but not in the higher Vrindavan, not in Braja Vrindavan. It'll place them in lower Vrindavan. And then the Nimbarkas, and that, depending upon the school, then parental rasa, at least nowadays, is the prominent thing. So they want to worship Radha and Krishna, but it's from the parental aspect. And they'll also basically be dealing with lower Goloka. That's why it's said, even though Nimbarka gave Radha Krishna worship in Vrindavan and spontaneous devotional service, it's not Braja Vrindavan. You know, it's lower Goloka, so it's still within it still has, it doesn't have the same. Pastimes may be similar and everything, but the situations will be much more, the situations will have a more prominence, like in Vaikuntha, the grandeur and everything of it. So for in Braj, even though the situations are the most special, the situation isn't the main feature. It's only seen as how to engage that in Krishna's service. So Krishna gives the residents of Braja the best facilities, but for them it's not about the facilities. The facilities don't make them appreciate Krishna more, like in Vaikuntha. The grandeur of it, then they appreciate how great God is, so it increases their devotion. But in Braj, it's not about that. That's not necessary. They're already in love with Krishna. So the superior situations are just how to engage that to please Krishna. So for them, that's all the value of the greater point. So even though, because there's a discussion, I think, between Sup Damodar Goswami and Srivas Thakur. So Srivas Thakur is talking about how great Vaikuntha is and the grandeur and all that, while Vrindavan is just some dust and some sticks and some, like cows and like this. And then Sup Damodar says, yes, but one grain of that dust is Chintamani, and it's the cause of all the opulence of Vaikuntha. Just one grain of dust. So that's the whole point, is that even though you have the best that there is, you have the Kalpavriksha trees, the desire-fulfilling trees, but they only go and take some fruit. And all desire-fulfilling cows, but they just take some milk. So they're not interested in the grandeur of it. So you have even more facility in Braj than you do in Vaikuntha, but they're only interested in that loving exchange with Krishna, that aspect of sweetness, that straightforwardness of it. So even though Braj is actually more grand than Vaikuntha, it's not a feature to them. It's just a nice arrangement for Krishna. Well, in Vaikuntha, then the grandeur of it, then that is very much a part of the service. Because it's grand, therefore it's suitable for service to the Lord, and then they try to do everything in a very grand way because He's God. Like that. So it's being done in pure love, so it's just a different taste. You know what I'm saying? That's all. Yeah. Okay. Yes. In relation to the translation. Okay.
The initial part of it says, therefore the material energy never enters the material creation. It's a little bit tricky. Therefore the material energy.
Oh, therefore the total material energy never actually enters the creation, because the total material energy is already existing. And so then aspects is separated. When it separates, and then these different elements, and a part of that creates the universe, but the material energy still exists beyond. It's just like, let's say you have a big lump of clay. You understand clay? Okay. So the potter takes a portion of this clay and then makes a pot. So has all of the clay entered that pot? Yeah. So the whole point is the material energy is unlimited. And so then the creation is created from that, but it's not that that's the totality of it. Does that make sense? Yeah. So you still have you still have the aspect of the Mahat, of the Pradhan, and of the what's in between, Avyakta, the unmanifest. So you're dealing with a huge amount that's not even within the universes. And the universe, the covering of the universe, is huge compared to what's inside. Does that make sense? Because the universe itself is, I think, 4 billion miles across. So half of that's full of water, so only within 2 billion miles is the 14 planetary systems. Right? But the covering, the first covering of the universe, Earth, is 10 times that 4 billion. So it's 40 billion miles is just the Earth. And then the next one, water, is 10 times that. You know, does that make sense? Fire is 10 times that. You know, so it's there's more in the coverings than there is in the how you say, the planetary systems. And then that's just a portion of the total material energy. So we're dealing with something very big. See, that's the point, is we as a jiva think I'm the controller and enjoyer, that we're so special and big when actually we're not. You know, because when we stand on the corner and think we look cool, actually nobody looks and nobody cares. You know what I'm saying? That's the fact. You know what I'm saying? So that's the principle. It's just to bring out that we're quite small. At least it means we overrate our position. Right. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, does that make sense? You know, it's just like when you're standing on the corner waiting for the light, and then if you look over just between, you know, the two crosses go off. So right in the middle, if you look carefully, there's this little stand there with this little, you know, kind of like this kind of a thing, and on it it's got the buttons, right? And on the, you know, from the real smiley face down to the grumpy face, right? And on it says rate your coolness, right? You know, like that. So then you're going to, of course, push the top button. But other people, when they look at it, and it's kind of like, what coolness, where? You know, it's kind of, yeah, so they don't even bother pushing the button, yeah. Does that make sense? Yeah. So that's the reality of how, so that's why these points are there, because Krishna, even though it's his energy that makes all this, he's still beyond. So even on the material platform, the material energy, everything's made of material energy, but material energy is still beyond this. So if that's happening on that platform, let alone on the platform that this energy comes from Krishna, and he's unlimited, so that means he's beyond the material creation. Right? Does that make sense? Right? It's just a natural, logical progression. Does that make sense? Yeah, okay. You had something?
Maharaj, when I'm thinking of bhakti, I'm thinking process of engagement and interaction. So then, many times I start speculating that, okay, I'm doing a lot of engagement, devotional service, but I'm saying, oh, the interaction is lacking.
But the thing is you just answered your question, because it said devotional service means, what do you say, interaction? Engagement and interaction. And then you said you speculate. So what does speculation mean? There's a lack of knowledge. So when you include knowledge in this, then the speculation will go away. So it means I am, based on knowledge, I'm engaging in activities, you know, that are interactive with the Lord and the devotees. That will be, you could say, your devotional process. You have to get all of them. So you're lacking the knowledge and who you are, what you're dealing with, who others are, what is the process, so that understanding, that's sambandha gyan. With that, then there's no speculation. Then you'll find the endeavor goes more smoothly, your interaction goes more smoothly. Does that make sense? Yeah. So you just have to include knowledge as part of the process. Does that make sense? That's why nectar of devotion is the science of devotional service. So understanding that, then you'll see that speculation is less, and then the efficiency of your endeavor and interaction is better. Is that okay?
staying on the same topic.
Staying on the same topic. Okay. So you have the knowledge and the endeavor, but you're not into the interaction.
More towards the...
You're still upset why no one's pushed the cool button. Why should I interact with them? They didn't push the cool button.
My angle was more towards the austerity part of the knowledge.
The austerity part of the knowledge means gaining the knowledge is really painful, so then why should we do that? Okay, we're getting there. Okay. Okay. Yeah, okay. It's like pin the tail on the donkey or something, right? Yeah, okay, cool. Okay, so...
Obviously there's positive effects, but it appears like there can also be negative effects, like a long duration of austerity can start.
But why is that a negative effect? But how long? It's just like this. Let us say the parents with the kids, they're going on vacation, they're driving somewhere, right? So after about 10 minutes, the kid gets bored, right? What does he ask? No, that's another thing, but after the chips, then? Are we there yet? I don't know. It doesn't matter where they are on the planet. They always say, "Are we there yet?" Right? And then the parents say, "What? No, it'll be another 3 hours," like that. And then maximum 30 seconds later, then it's, "Are we there yet?" And they'll keep doing that for a while. Yeah. So when you say about the austerity and the negative benefits, then for the kid, this is beyond austerity and total negative benefits. So therefore, when you say a long time, how do you define a long time? Seeing that just in comparison, we've been in the material world since time immemorial, which is you could comfortably call it a long time. And then we're following a process that in one lifetime, that we're talking maximum 100 years. And that's 100 years compared to like practically eternal, and then we're going to call that 100 years a long time?
It seems that if there's no proper guidance, it starts working against at some stage.
Yes, okay, without proper guidance, yes, but that's anything. So the whole point is that's why then association is the most important thing in devotional service. Because without association, then how are you inspired? How do you see things from the proper understanding? How are you gaining a deeper, appreciation? So that's why association is so important. Because if you try to do things on your own, it won't be successful as if you do it in association. Right? Does that make sense? So like you said, gain knowledge. So traditionally it's mentioned that study is done in twos. You do it with somebody. Because then you can discuss with them, and then you get their understanding, and on certain things that, you give your understanding. So there's always going to be, as two different people, you have different perspectives, but who you choose to study with is going to have a similar nature, so you can relate to each other, what examples to use and what kind of things are important. Values will be similar, so therefore there's a relationship, but because you're different, then your realizations will be moving at different speeds. So where yours is less and the others is more, they can help you, and vice versa. But we're still not getting there. See, the trick is this. If you can say what you want to say in one sentence, then that means then we can start to answer it. But if it's a whole song and dance and, like that, and then while the credits are going on, you're still running scenes and stuff, then it's really hard to know what's going on.
That frustration can actually start affecting the relationship. That's what I was trying to get.
Okay. Yes, but
See is that the austerity starts having a flow and effect, a negative flow and effect, and that starts actually affecting the relationships because the austerity started.
But isn't that in everything? Isn't that in everything? You know what I'm saying? You go for a medical degree, how long does that take? You know, you just go down there and spend the afternoon and you come back a neural brain surgeon and all that, you know? You know, that you do 5 or 6 years there, then your internship, then your general, then you do your specialization and like that. Does that make sense? So, I mean, what doesn't take time? You start a business. That's, you know, the first day you take your $100, so you go out and buy something and then sell it, you know, down at the market like that. You come back with your $1 million, right? Isn't that how way it works? Right? You know, so what works? What works immediately? So that's why then patience and determination and, you know, how you say, you know, having a vision and all these different things, these are always glorified because these are the qualities required actually to be successful. If we don't have them, then the difficulty comes as our circle of dealing or endeavor is too small. You know, it's like if you're sitting on the couch and you want some breakfast, you want something to eat, you go to the fridge and there's some milk and there is still something left in the box of cereal and there is a bowl that is still washed, right? It's not one of the pile of dirty dishes in the thing. So then there you have immediate gratification as long as also you have a spoon. You understand? But now if you go in the kitchen and there's the cereal but no milk, or there's milk but no cereal, or there's milk and cereal but all the dishes are dirty, you know, that's when people go back to the couch and, you know, how you say, phone up for pizza delivery. You understand? So it's just a matter of what's your determination. Like that. So that's why association. You associate with others, you see how the process is working, so you have that faith. They're advancing, so therefore if you follow it, you can advance. And nothing is gained without austerity. So it's not that the austerity is bad, that's the good part. Right? Manasamhita mentions that even the insects elevate themselves to the heavenly planets through austerity. Right? Like being a bug, is that going to be austere or not? Right? Yeah, so therefore the austerity from that's going to elevate them from that bug up to the bigger bug, and then from that up to the next species of life until they get to the how you say, the animals, and then from up to the human. And if they continue that spirit of austerity, then that will get them to the heavenly planets. So austerity is the only thing where you get the benefit. If it's not austere, you're not getting benefit. You never heard no pain, no gain? Yeah, so it's no austerity. It's not that the pain of, you know, let's say being in the gym is the point. It's the persistence in the work. That's austere. Performance of your duty, that's austerity. The difficulty that comes from that's penance. That's why it's penance and austerity. Right? So austerity is sticking to your duties no matter what. And then the difficulties that come up from that's the penance. So austerity includes penance. Penance means there's austerity. Otherwise, you know, so you can just use one or the other. But they are two different aspects of the same thing. So if you don't, let's say that you study and do that despite everybody else is out having a good time, but you study, that's austerity. That you do it every night, like that. You get it done first. That's austerity. You come home, you do whatever little, you do your homework, and then you're free for the evening, rather than you just come home and have a good time, and then at the last minute you try to do some study, but it's too late, so you think you'll do it on the way to school, you know, like that. It doesn't work. So doing it on a regular thing, that's austerity. Now from that you may get a headache, you may get this or that, or, you know, or so many different things that you lose out on. That's the penance. You know, you could be out playing, you know, how you say, cricket with your friends, but you're not. You're doing your homework, and that's why you become the neural brain surgeon, and they work down at McDonald's. Yes, you know. So, and they didn't become a cricket you know, professional. So, you know, what did they get? You know, they had some fun. You know, okay. Does that make sense? Yeah, so that's life. Okay? Right, yeah. You know, in other words, you had a good run and your mom did everything for you, but once you grow up, you kind of have to do things yourself. You know, so, yeah. Yes?
Maharaj, you have touched on one thing that, another thing that I keep speculating on is that, because I only have remembrance of this life, so then I feel, oh, it's very long. Like, had I had the remembrance of all other, I keep thinking, if I knew all these things, then I would be in a patient.
Would you?
That's my guess, that's my speculation.
Okay.
Would that remembrance, like, Krishna only gives the remembrance of this life?
Yeah, but that's so you don't go nuts.
I keep speculating, if I knew, then I'd be more calm. Or it is
Yeah, but what happens if last life was better than this life? Then would you be calm? Yeah. You know, does that make sense? You know, so that's the whole thing. You know, if you remembered that last life that you were the guy in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, would you be peaceful and happy and all that? And, you go hang out down at those, hardware stores where there's chainsaws over in the corner and kind of look and no. Yeah, so the point is it's not necessary because you can't become the supreme controller and enjoyer. So therefore, by not remembering, that's what makes this lifetime seem fresh. Otherwise, it's the same chewing the chewed. It means, don't you get bored of things in this life? So now, could you imagine you connect that, go back hundreds of thousands of lifetimes? How much? You'd be 1,000 times more bored. Yeah, You're thinking, wow, if I could get, who makes the Civic? Honda. Okay, I can get the Honda Civic when last life you were driving a Lamborghini or something like that, and it's kind of like, oh, okay, So that's the whole thing. Is that it's not it's designed properly. So be happy. You worry about what you can do, and leave how the universe is created and managed up to Krishna and all that. Yeah. Yeah, okay, yeah. And then, unless, of course, you're into the Bruce Almighty kind of paradigm, then, then... Yeah, it didn't really work out, yeah. So, yeah. Is that okay? That's good. Okay. Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Samaveta Bhaktivinoda ki, Jai Nitai Gaura Premanandi. Oh yeah, I didn't even think about that one. Yes, that's a...
Yeah, really tricky. Prabhupada mentions in